fresh off the Capcom showcase, guys. I just tuned in for the whole show, and I have to say there's not a whole bunch of stuff to talk about regarding the new Onimusha, which I'm really excited about. All they really mentioned was how they're looking to do the story and the fact that it's starring a brand new character, so it's 100% not Sam Inosuke that's going to be in the game or anybody that we know. They also said there's going to be dismemberment, but I really don't think there's a point in talking about some of the stuff that they reported. However, they did actually share with us that Onimusha 2 is getting a remaster and it's coming out at some point this year. Now, I was saying a little while ago that I do think that the other games were going to be getting remastered at some point because Onimusha is so far away. It's in 2026 that the new Onimusha is coming out, and we don't actually know what month it's coming out. It could come out at the end of 2026, which was like 2 years away from the actual announcement when we got that trailer. But I firmly believed that they would be remastering the rest of the games along that period of time to actually keep us interested and waiting on the new game coming along. However, the fact that they've actually only announced Onimusha 2 here kind of worries me a little. Back in 2018, they actually released the first game remastered, which was Onimusha Warlords, and it came out in 2019, I think, on PC. There was a weird reason why they decided to delay the Steam version of the game by a couple of weeks, I remember, but we had to wait until January to actually play it on Steam, which was weird as far as I was concerned, but nonetheless, that's what happened. However, I was a firm believer that I think that port is not a good version of Onimusha 1. You know, there's a part of me that feels like it's the worst version of the game in some aspects because, especially for console users, because they actually change the music, you know, and I feel like it ruins the tone of the original Onimusha Warlords and Onimusha 1 in general. By changing the music, it ruins the tone, but there is a significant reason why they had to do that, I remember, and it's because the guy that was getting credited for the work didn't actually do the music, so they had to remove it from that version. Unfortunately, it kind of like butchered a lot of things about the original Onimusha 1, and I'm a firm believer that it's just not really a good version of the game. I personally still think Genma Onimusha is the best version of Onimusha 1, which is still lumbered on the original Xbox. The good news is, when it comes to actual Onimusha 2 though, there's only one version of that game. There's no another version that came out on the Xbox or anything like that, so we will get the full complete version of that game, and I believe the composer of Onimusha 2 was not the same person that done Onimusha 1, so I don't think we will have any like butchered music or rearranged score for the game. I think we will at least get Onimusha 2 intact what it was meant to be, so that is a positive about this remaster. The negative aspect about this remaster though is the fact that it's just Onimusha 2 getting remastered. There's no 3, there's no 4 here within the announcement. It remains to be seen though whether those games will end up coming later, and I hope like those remasters are not based on how this one performs, because I genuinely believe that this is the worst Onimusha game in the series, and that might not be something that people are used to hearing. I'm sure if you tune in on Twitch these days and you see like a bunch of high profile streamers playing the game, a lot of them will kind of like turn around and say that the second game is like the best in the series. That is like a common perception of the Onimusha series from the mainstream audience, people that don't play them a lot or anything, and you can't expect people to play a lot of an old series in this day and age, to play it once every now and then. Maybe they've not played it in 20 years and they just revisit the series, but the common perception is that 2 is just better than 1 in every single way, and 2 is the best game in the series because that's what they remember. But no, I just don't think that is the case. I think it's the weakest one in the series personally, and I think 3 and 4 are far superior. I don't think 3 and 4 were the reason why the series died or anything like that. I just think there was so many games in the PS2 era and the Onimusha series fell off. That's what I personally believe. I don't think it had anything to do with the change in direction, because I think if you play the games, you'll see that they actually needed a change in direction after how 2 is, in my opinion. I guess I'm coming off kind of negative in this video, and it's just because I'm a bit bummed that they've only announced the Onimusha 2 remaster. And it's just because I think like a lot of the characters in the game really are not that interesting personally. I think the only interesting characters in this game are Gogan Dantis, obviously everybody loves Gogan Dantis, but he does not carry the game, especially when you've got someone as boring as Ju Bei in it, who is the main character, and I do think he's like the worst main character in the series, even past Jean Renault. I think Jean Renault was great in Onimusha 3 personally. And there's just so many other things about the game that I think is just a waste of time, like the whole trading system. If you want to go around trading a knife and fork to people and pipe and stuff for the friendship system, that's cool. But in my opinion, it's just a bunch of like filler scenarios that don't really add a lot to the story of Onimusha 2, which isn't really that good in my opinion. I also think the weapons are worse. I never really liked the spear from Onimusha 2, and I also think the Demon Realms in Onimusha 2 are just the worst one of the entire franchise, actually. They're very, very easy and don't really add a lot to the gameplay. And I genuinely think the bosses are like a joke in the game. The only one that I really like is probably Nobunaga, because every Nobunaga fight is pretty interesting. And I overall think the Genma designs in Onimusha 2 are just straight up worse over the original game, and I think that's kind of why they went a little bit backwards in Onimusha 3 and 4 and brought some of the original Genma back into those games, because they changed it up in Onimusha 2 for the worst. Like, the more common Genma is like a bloody lizard, which absolutely looks terrible in my opinion. I've never liked the Genma that are actually in Onimusha 2 whatsoever. A couple of them are not too bad, but they don't get used a whole lot. So it just kind of like leaves a lot to be desired when it comes to Onimusha 2. A lot of the only cool environments that are in the game are literally ripped from the first game, and the environments that came from Onimusha 2 exclusively just are not even remotely fun to roam around. All in all, I just think it is the worst Onimusha game in the franchise, and I really hope that the Onimusha 3 and 4 remaster are not tied to this game's sales, because I don't know if this is going to do too well in terms of sales, but I really hope that's not why Capcom are releasing this remaster. I just would have been a lot more happier if they had turned round and said, you know, Onimusha 2 and 3 remaster are going to be available this year for you to play, no just 2. So yeah, I'm overall a little bit disappointed, because I just think Onimusha 2 is like the worst one to play in the series in this day and age, and I think like 3 and 4 are genuinely better to play, and I think like those games in HD would be absolutely fantastic. I'm not saying 2 isn't going to be a somewhat fun game to play at the end of the day. It's still an Onimusha game and you will have fun out of it, but just let it be known there's better Onimusha games out there. Don't let what people say on the internet sway you into thinking like Onimusha 3 and 4 are bad. I think they're genuinely amazing games, far better than what Onimusha 2 is. Let us just pray to Jean Renault that he actually lets us get the Onimusha 3 remaster before this new Onimusha title comes out in 2026. Let me know your thoughts, guys. I know it was quite negative, but I can't help but say I'm really like disappointed that only Onimusha 2 is getting remastered here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.